Let's create a function with optional parameters. Let's go ahead and define the function by typing the def keyword and giving it a name. We'll call it greet. And in parentheses, we will give it 2 parameters. One will be required, which is name. And the second one we will call greeting. And we will make this optional by, after typing the name of the parameter, putting the equal sign, and then we can give it a default value. We could leave it as an empty string, but I'm going to give it the default value of hello. I'm going to put my colon and hit enter. And for the function body, I'm going to create a variable called message. And I'm going to use an F string to create a greeting based on our parameters. So I'm going to do F, and then in quotes, I'm going to do curly braces, going to pass it the greeting variable, put a comma, and then in another set of curly braces, pass in the name. And then below that, I am going to call the print function and print out the variable message. So now if I drop down here and I call the greet function, and for the first time I call it, I'm only going to pass it the name Bob. Now when I run this, it's going to call the greet function. The argument that I pass, Bob, is going to go into the name variable, but since I didn't pass a second parameter in here, greeting is going to get the value hello. So when this runs, message is going to be hello Bob. And if I run that, we'll see that we get the output hello Bob. But let's say that we want to give a custom greeting. We could say Tina and then put a comma, and we could put how we want to greet Tina. So I could put something like howdy here. And now when I run this, we get howdy Tina. Let's create another function, and this time we will use keyword arguments. So it's kind of a long name, so I've already got it typed out here, and we're going to create a function that calculates the volume of a pyramid. It's going to take 3 parameters, a length, a width, and a height, and we will default the height to equal 1. So underneath here, I'm going to create a variable called volume, and I'm going to set it to be equal, and I'm going to use a set of parentheses here, and I want it to be length times width times height, and then this entire thing needs to be divided by 3. And then we can call the print function and pass it in the variable volume. Instead of simply just typing the name of the function and passing the parameters in as they are, I'm instead going to use keyword arguments so that I don't have to necessarily put them in the same order. So to do this, you would type the name of the parameter, then the equal sign, and then what you want to set that parameter's argument to be. So I can pass in 4 for the width, then a comma, and then I'll type in length equals, and we'll give it 5, and then we can do height equals, and give it something like 10. And when I run this now, we will get the output 66.666667, and that is the volume of this pyramid. And you'll notice that these are not in the same order as the parameters up here, and this is because we used keyword arguments. When you use keyword arguments, you can pass them in any order that you want. However, any positional arguments that you use must come before any keyword arguments. So since I have width and length here swapped, but height is in the right position, I would think, okay, I can not have to put height in there because it's already in the right position. But as soon as I remove the keyword argument, I get a little red squiggly. And if I hover over this, I'll get this error that says positional argument cannot appear after keyword arguments. This means that all positional arguments, which are either variables or literal values, must come before any of these keyword arguments where you have the name of the variable equals and then the value that you want it to equal. We've already seen one function that had a return statement, but let's look at a function that has multiple return statements. So here I have defined a calculate letter grade, and it is going to take a single parameter, which is the grade. And then based on that grade, we are going to return a letter. We can do this by using an if conditional statement. So if grade is greater than or equal to 90, return the letter A. And then below that, we can say elif grade is greater than or equal to 80, return B. And then for the last one, we can say elif grade is greater than or equal to 70, return C. And if we wanted to, we could even throw in a catch-all and say else, return F. And down below this, we can call this function. And we will actually call this function inside of the print function's parameters. And the first value that I will pass it is 95. And if I run this, we'll see that I get the output A. And if I drop this down to 85, I get the output B. If I drop it down to 75, I get the output C. And if I drop it down to 65, I'll get the output F. And the reason that this works is once the function encounters a return statement, it breaks out of the function. None of the code past the return statement will execute. When the grade is 90 or above, it sees this return and that's it. Nothing else below this, no matter what it was, would execute. It would immediately return back to the caller, which in this case would be the parameter that we are passing into our print function.